Hello. Okay, how are we doing there? Well, that's pretty good. Let's tilt it a bit. Let's just tilt it down a little. Okay, that's pretty good. Hello. Welcome. Oh, it's hot today. The heat and sun have come back. Yes. Welcome to Water Walk 10,945,629,002. So let's see now, I was walking up, as I usually do, I walk up and think about what, is it straight? Is it straight enough? Thinking about what I could blab about. I got a few things in mind. One is the recent film Planet of the Humans by Jeff Gibbs, executive produced by Michael Moore, the famous Michael Moore. Let's see what else. What else? Oh yeah, maybe I'll start with my walk and wanting ice cream. And there's something in between. Maybe that's enough. Okay? Anyway, yeah, so I was just heading up here, and my neighbors were working on a stone wall by the homestay they have. That homestay is like a, I guess you could, in Canada it might be called a bed and breakfast. Basically, you stay, well, theoretically you stay in someone's home, right? But a lot of them have separate buildings for their homestays, so they're like little houses with different rooms, like little hotels, but there might be 2 or 4 rooms. Anyway, it doesn't matter. You get the gist, I think. Yeah, so anyway, in my halting Thai, so this was way beyond my Thai language comfort zone, but I gave it a shot anyway. So 2 days ago, I'm just looking to see if anyone's coming. Actually, I can see better now down the trail. In case someone comes and thinks I'm just talking to myself, which I am, of course, except for you guys, the mythical watchers. Yeah, so a couple days ago I went up on the northwest ridge and did a little video, if you saw that. And then part of that was, at some point, I was just going to go home, but then I decided, no, I'm going to go get some ice cream in the village. So I went down, and this is all in that video. I went down, and I came in through the backside of a kind of more of a real small hotel. And then went down, the coffee shop was open, and there was a woman, I didn't have my mask, right? I didn't bring it because I thought, oh, I'm just going to be out on the trail. Anyway, I got my mask with me now. Anyway, so there's a lady, older lady. I was just crossing paths with her, and she had her mask on, but I had no mask, and she's going like this, right? I'm like, oh yeah, sorry, kotoka, mask tiban. My mask is at home. I didn't know how to say. I forgot to bring it. Anyway. So today I was telling my neighbors, again, out of comfort zone Thai, telling the story. So I say, oh, 2 days before I go walk mountain. And then I think come home, but then think, oh, I want ice cream. So did I say, I go down in the hotel guest house place, and I say, oh, someone say, no mask, and I said, me, I don't have. But then I was trying to tell them, but I was thinking, like, wait a second, I live here, no one here has COVID, and you come from the city, and bring your COVID. There's Chiang Mai's doing really great. There's like 1 person has died, and there's no one in the hospital anymore. So anyway, it was just a thought, right? It wasn't anything rational, but the thought was, well, hang on a second. You're all coming up to our village, where we live, and everyone's healthy. So anyway, yeah, that was fun though. It was fun to try and articulate. Yeah. Yeah, so anyway, yeah, anyways, lots of cars coming up, and I was saying that it seems like everyone's forgotten how to drive on the mountain. I mean, they're not living on the mountain, right? So, fair enough, but I was like going down the other day on my motorbike, and there's like bikes, like decent sized bikes, you know, like big bikes-ish, big-ish, middle size, you'd say, and there's like blasting up at like, I don't know, 60, 70 kilometers an hour, cutting across corners and stuff. I'm like, oh my god, this is a good way to die here, right? People have died on this road. Anyway, I guess they're just so anxious to get away from home. Anyway, I haven't heard any sirens, so hopefully everyone's been okay. Yeah. I guess the other thing was that movie. There's something else. What was it? I wanted to do the movie thing at the end. What is it? Planets. I wonder how long it's okay to use these bottles. You know how sometimes they say you shouldn't use plastic too long. I mean, these are made for water, right? And to be fair, well, I've used them for a few years, but like the water doesn't sit in them that long. I mean, I fill up my glass jugs at home, and then some is always in one of the bottles, and that lasts for a couple of days maybe. But anyway, whatever. I guess the other thing about the whole story of the mask, the person, is that I'm like, yeah, but we live here. And then I thought, oh, wow, I think this is where I live. That's a great feeling. It's like, oh, this is my home. That's nice, eh? Well, 5.5 years, I guess you can say. I think I'm in some sort of nebulous territory in the village, though. They know I'm sticking around, that's for sure. They know I can't afford to go back. Oh, I shouldn't say that. Anyway, the flight to Canada, I was going to go for the kendo tournament and then, ooh, wow, that was a nice bird. And then visit some friends, and that's cancelled. I wonder why. Anyway, Canadian National Championships cancelled. Kendo Championships. Oh, I hope they just push everything a year. That way I can go back next summer and still go to my friend's lake and everything. Anyway, we'll see what happens. Anyway, Planet of the Humans. Planet of the Humans. Yeah, so Michael Moore presented this film, directed by Jeff Gibson. This Aussie, I forget his last name, was a producer. And it's got a huge amount of furor around it from the Greenies. I've decided to call them the Industrial Green Contingent, which is most, I think. Most. Is that bird sticking up there? Okay, time for a drink of water. Anyway, so I was watching this film. I thought it was a great film, with its issues, right? Like, I remember I was watching it and talking about some solar array, and like, wow, I remember that story 10 years ago. It's like, ooh. So that's the main criticism is that it's dated, right? And it is. And but the thing is, I felt as though I was able to watch it and let those aspects of it just filter out and get the main message, right? Which was, look, you're not gonna replace electricity, let alone transportation fuel. That's a whole other ball game. Anyway, you're not gonna be able to just switch over to renewable energy and keep the same way of living. It's just impossible. Like, there's just no way. But it seems as though a lot of people think that's what you can do. In essence, some people will spin it a certain way. Oh no, I don't think that. I don't think it has to be a tech answer. I'm like, well, anyway. So, population, consumption, all these things tie in together. Oh, that's the water. I don't want to get snuck up on. Great water. Yeah, so anyway, let's see if I can try and be as concise as possible. But the gist of the movie was basically correct and fine and good, It didn't feel like it was new news, but for a lot of people it might be, right? And at the very least, it could get a discussion going, for what it's worth. But no, that's not what happened. The vitriolic attacks across the board were astonishing, and even I got some, like, people don't usually attack me on, Facebook. I feel pretty lucky. Like, I never get negative comments on my YouTube channel, probably because only a few people watch them and they're all good friends. See, that's the secret, right? It was all YouTube comments are just a pit of hell. It's like, oh no, not if you only have 10 people watching it and they're all your friends. That's my secret. Anyway, so yeah, but this got some, like, really strong, a little bit surprising, not completely, right? Because I know about the thrust of the environmental thing, and John Livingston said this decades ago about it just being essentially to keep everything the same and get away with it. So, what was astonishing is that it was just across the board. This is against against climate change. It's essentially climate denial. It's like, no. And also they're saying, oh, well, the fossil fuels are grabbing this movie and using it as an example. I'm like, really? Because it's very clear that fossil fuels are a problem in that movie. Anyway, do you know what I mean? Like, if I was an oil company, I'd be like, oh, I don't know if I want to use that movie. People might actually watch it and go, hey, wait a minute. Anyway, so I'm astonished. And everyone can have their opinions, and that's one thing, right? But Elizabeth May wrote a review, if you can say that, and it was just like, oh god, it was just, obviously she's got an agenda. Well, who wouldn't? She's a politician. Anyway, Elizabeth May is the leader of the Canadian Green Party, and I think they're only sitting member in Parliament. So it's not like she has a lot of influence, but she does actually. For one person, she has people listen to what she has to say, and I do too, or in the past. But yeah. What her maybe I'll link, if on the Facebook upload, I'll link Elizabeth May's response to the movie. Maybe I'll link the movie. Also, Richard Heinberg did maybe the best response, I thought, was from Richard Heinberg, right? And I'll put that up too. And all along, Richard Heinberg has said, look, the thing with renewable energy, i.e. solar voltaics, wind, geothermal, all of it, dams, you know, is that it can only really be a kind of a transition technology, right? You can't replace it, right? You can't replace fossil fuels with renewables. And people talk about like trucks and cars, and at this stage anyway, there's just no way you can have a truck with batteries. I mean the weight is just incredible. But you never know, like down the road. But anyway, part of the movie was also talking about the fact that the creation of this renewable energy uses fossil fuels to make, right? Not only that, but it uses a lot of them use rare earth minerals that need to be mined, and there's human rights abuses connected with that, all kinds of things, right? And another big one for me is industrializing the landscape, or industrializing the land, right? So they did this one where they had these mirrors pointing up to a tower, a solar array, and apparently that one, and then they showed it was just junked, right? But apparently they built another one somewhere else. But the people defending that are saying, oh, well, it's much more energy efficient. It's like, well, you've just trashed one fairly large area of land and done it somewhere else. You know, there's no real concept of this industrializing the land and scraping it clean and all that, you know, like. Or there's one instance, I think, Vermont, of stripping the whole mountaintop of trees and stuff and putting wind turbines up there. And they kind of equated it with mountaintop removal for coal, right? It's not quite the same thing because, in my opinion, because with mountaintop removal, you just take the whole mountain off, and also there's terrible effluent and waste and everything, right? So it's not quite the same thing, but point taken, right? If I lived on that mountain and they stripped it out and put turbines on it, I'd be up there too, you know, protesting and stuff. Anyway, so there's all these things, right? So what struck me was that all the greenies, the Industrial Greenies, how about that for a term? They just didn't acknowledge all this. They just want to forget about it, it seems, you know? It's terrible. I couldn't believe it. It's like, I feel like a dog with a bone with it, you know? And I just can't believe. And one article that was okay. None. I mean, other than Richard Heimberg's, most of the articles are reviews and stuff are so, right? But someone said, "Oh, this is so full of holes," and like, well, yeah, well, tell me the holes and. Anyway, whatever. So anyway, that's sort of my thing, eh? This week's been on my head a lot, in my mind a lot. And, I don't know. I would not vote for Elizabeth May. I'd vote for the Conservative Party before I vote for her. And her party, as it turns out, because it's clear what their thing is, right? Sorry, I'm not gonna go with someone that's so clearly not telling people, right? Okay, I wouldn't vote the Conservative Party, but anyway, I probably wouldn't vote at all. Last election I didn't vote. But the one before, and I was in Thailand, I did so. But here's the thing. Here's what I think a politician, if a politician claiming to be green and for nature, so all this, as an aside, all this green tech and everything is against nature. You know what I mean? It may not be as bad for nature, but it's blatantly against the natural world, right? You cannot say an electric car is good for nature, even if the electricity comes from turbines. Because if nature was sitting there, you know, sitting there with a hat on and having a glass of wine, say, hey, we made an electric car for you. And like, nature would be going, yeah, we don't want the electric car. How, in what world do you think that's good for us? It's better, is all you can say, right? Anyway, so if a politician said, look, here's the reality of it. We're in a big trouble. And this trouble could be coming soon, but it's hard to know exactly the timing, right? Because it's a very complex system, the Earth, right? But look, this is how it is, right? We gotta find some way around it. And also, we might do things like solar panels and wind farms, but make no mistake, that's not an answer. It's just some way to get through to another place. If a politician said that to me, I'd vote for them in a second. Because whether it's feasible or not, at least they're being honest with people. Because, you know, I'm sorry, Elizabeth May is really a smart gal, right? I'm sure she's fully aware of the limitations of renewable, quote-unquote, energy. So basically, they're either treating the populace as children. Oh, here comes someone. สวัสดีค่ะสบายดีไหมโอ้อันนี้อะไรค่ะน้ำครับโอ้อร่อยไหมอร่อยครับโอ้ผัดไหมกุโตคะเอาไปผัดไหมผัดใช่โอ้ can I see ดูได้ไหมครับ I'm gonna be right back I can't see him okay so that was a neighbor and อันนี้ผักน้ำนี่กับน้ำพริกเขาได้นะขายดีนะเอากับน้ำพริกอร่อยอร่อยด้วยครับเนี่ยกับน้ำพริกนี่ตรงนี้ครับเยอะแยะเนี่ยตรงนี้ใช่หมดเลยเนี่ยอร่อยไอ้สิ่งที่ทำได้ด้วยนะน้ำพริกโอ้กินไหมกินกับน้ำพริกกินจะหอมค่ะOkay. Look. 2 things I learned. So he was just coming up along the creek. He's picking these vegetables. This plant. Pak nam, I guess he said. Nam is water, but I'm not sure if it's the same meaning. Nam. And then this was another one here. So I'm going to take pictures so I can try and remember. It's hard. There's so many. It's so diverse here, right? There's so many different kinds of plants, and you want to be really careful with this. But of course, he's from here. He's like from here, and he knows. He knows. Anyway, this is a tremendous bit of fortune for me, right? To learn this. Yeah. Oh, so lucky. Oof. Yeah. I'll just put that in my pack. Yeah, isn't that something, eh? Yeah. So anyway, he gave me a bunch of them. He wanted to give me more, but I can only eat so much, right? But that's how it is, you know what I mean? When you pick things from the wild, that's how you do it, in my experience. Like when I was hunting deer and picking, most of us eating nettles, lamb's quarters, and dandelion leaves as a green, you know. Mostly eating just deer and those greens. But it's a really different feeling when you gather something, hunt it, kill it, whatever, gather a plant. Is that the impulse to share is it's not even that the impulse is strong, it's just part of it, right, in my experience. Whereas, I have to think this through, but whereas, say you go to the grocery store and you pay money for something, we're all using money, I'm not saying, you know, but use money I'm not saying that, also not saying people don't share from buying things, they do. But my experience is that when it's gathered from the wild, from nature, the impulse to share is not even strong, it's just inherent, right? Yeah. So what can you do with that? Can you even go there in an agricultural society? I'm tempted to say no, but maybe you can. Maybe you can. Sure. I don't know. I mean, this is like sort of thought experiment, or talking to Tuma. So one friend said about this movie, but he doesn't give any solutions. It's like, look, that's good actually, because there are no solutions. If you're running around thinking you can find some solution to this, I think you're in a big world of hurt, right? Because over and over again you'll hear people say, look, it's not a problem, it's a predicament, right? As in, it's not a problem, this whole thing with climate, ecological collapse, habitat destruction, all of that. It's not a problem to fix, it's a predicament to try and figure your way through, right? And I'm completely committed to that as a concept, right? So for whatever, take it for what you will. But maybe, I used to say this, what I'm about to say, I used to say it all the time. But I stopped saying it, right? Because there's just no point almost, or so it seemed. I say, look, probably we have to go back to a hunter-gatherer society, or at the very least a Stone Age level of technology, right? And then the immediate thing that people say is, well, what are you going to do with all the people? And like, oh, look, oh, God. I'm not talking about tomorrow. I'm talking the long view. I'm talking, where do we want to be in hundreds of years, right? Obviously, at this moment in time, in most places on the planet, you can't do that. We've already degraded the wild ecosystem so much. Even if we were back in earlier times when that kind of existence was around, I mean, probably it would bounce back fairly quickly, but you might have a rough generation or two. But anyway, but the idea for me was always, no, this is the long vision, right? This is a vision of where we'll be in 1,000 years or 10,000 years, right? So with that vision, then each step you take is towards that. Maybe part of that step is putting up a wind turbine. Maybe it is. Understanding that it's only a short-term step, not a solution, right? So, isn't that kind of opportune, eh? The sharing and the giving. Of course, I live in a village and it's a little bit rough for people here because it got said there's quite a few tourists that come here, mostly Thai tourists. I mean, it's not insanely, but like there's not millions of people. It's a small place, but it's often can be quite crowded, right? Relatively crowded. So you know, people are, because things have been locked down. There's only, some other friends were saying, oh, there's 3 restaurants open and 1 coffee shop, or 2 maybe. So anyway, so people are, you know, things that get built up because of people visiting, and then they become reliant on money. Anyway, so it's very complex in that. But I think, anyway, now I don't know what to say. I figure it was said with this, right? It was said with this. Yeah. Anyway, I'm gonna pack up and maybe I'll do some walking and talking. Yeah, I'm just thinking how touched I was by that, just chance meeting of. I don't know his name actually, but we see each other and say hi all the time, a lot. Um, when I first moved here, I thought, oh, I'd really like to learn about the wild plants and stuff, right? For sure, there are people here that can just live on the mountain. Still, you know what I mean? They're all, most of them are like his age, but not all. There might be some young people, but most of the young people aren't so interested in that, it seems. But the older people, they still know, which is amazing, right? Because sure, they like the teenagers might be like, yeah, whatever, just give me my iPhone, which, is the case, to a degree. But in a way, it doesn't matter, right? If it's needed, say in 5 years, that's okay. Because all the older people a lot of them will still be here. A lot of them will still know, right? And they can learn. And they will. It's an amazing thing. It's a rare thing, right? Because that kind of knowledge is, jeez. I know people in Canada with that knowledge, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying it's just a Thai thing. But Canada's more removed is what my main thinking is. If you want to take an overall kind of look at the general population, most people couldn't survive their way out of a paper bag, right? Just think about water alone, right? So a lot of these walks are about water for me, and I think so everything spins around water and how important it is to our lives, and yeah. Yeah, it's so amazing. It was an interesting chat with Guy McPherson, and I wanted to say something about Guy McPherson in that movie. Anyway, just an interesting chat. He was talking to, I forget his name, Kirkpatrick, I think is his first name, which is normally a last name. Anyway, it was interesting chat, actually. Anyway, but he said, humans have only been hunting for 70,000 years, right? I'm like, what? So I was like, I don't think so. So then I did a quick look up, and the general consensus is, it seems that humans have actually been hunting for like 2 million years. Anyway, so setting that aside, it was a pretty interesting conversation. But anyway, back to the Guy McPherson thing. One thing about the movie, when it first came out, a lot of people, like Kevin Hester and the usual suspects, they were saying, oh, they didn't credit Guy. They should have credited Guy, because a lot of what they're talking about, Guy's been talking about for ever. And I agree with that. And but who knows what their thinking was, and they'd be aware of that, right? Pretty much everyone in that world would be knowing who Guy McPherson is. Oh, that's weird. That's interesting. You probably can't see it. There's like a basket. Oh, you can see it right in the lower left corner. Like a basket filtery thing. Anyway, making do with what you have. Yeah. So anyway, so this is shout out to Guy and Kevin and all those guys. It's like, I'm sure they're all watching it. It's like, oh, for Christ's sakes, this is like the oldest news ever, right? How is this even a discussion? But apparently it is. Anyway, so I guess I want to say Guy McPherson, Kevin Hester, Jennifer Hines, all those guys, thank you so much for all the commitment and work and focus that you guys do. Some of us are paying attention and appreciate it. But it could be that the filmmakers didn't want to bring Guy's name into it because his name turned out to be somewhat controversial. his ideas and perspectives and thoughts, right? So, see, this is the thing, right? You kind of got the feeling they just tossed the thing together, right? Oh, it's Earth Day and there's a pandemic. Let's put a movie together. And probably the directors had been making it for years and years. And, you just grab all this footage and don't know what to do with it, maybe. And I don't know what the case is for them, but then let's just throw it together. It's like, well, we're not going to talk about Guy McPherson. But no worries about us having 10-year-old data, 10-year-old stuff for all the Industrial Greenies to grab hold of, right? I don't know. Anyway, you can't... It's best not to be too hard on people, right? Because people just do what they can do. Do you know what I mean? Nothing's perfect. No movie can talk about everything. That was another complaint. It's like, well, they didn't talk about this. They didn't talk about that. And like, what can you do in an hour and a half, right? Anyway, it's a moot point. So, anyway, so this is a lot about that movie. This movie is about that movie. Yeah. But if you're interested, Kevin and Guy and Jennifer and others are still at it. You know what I mean? They're committed people and never give up, never surrender, right? I guess. Yeah. I can't help it. I mean, I get weary of the conversation, and I basically I sort of take it all really seriously and none of it seriously. It's like, what do I care? Look where I live. Where I live, people just wander by and go, hey, you can eat this plant. I'm like, really? Of course, it took 5.5 years for me to learn that. But, yeah, that's it. Oh, I was going to say one thing that I kind of diverged off what I was saying, but one thing that I thought when I first got here was like, oh, I'd really love to learn some of the wild plants and things, right? But I know you can't just go, hey, show me this, right? You just can't do that. Just not how it works. You have to let time settle in and, So if it takes 5.5 years to learn 2 plants that I can eat, that maybe only sprout out at a certain time of year. Remember this, hot season, May, close to mid-May. Then that's just fine, right? That's just no problem. It's just the way it is. Oh, hey, look at this vine. Can you see this? I don't know if you can. Oh yeah, there it is. Goes all the way up the tree. Dun, dun, dun. Yeah, I don't think this would be a vine that Tarzan would be swinging on. Anyway, whatever. How long has this been? Oh, it's been... I don't even know how long this video is going to be. Anyway, I guess thanks so much for hanging out and listening to my rambles, right? If you want to subscribe, please subscribe, and there's that bell you can hit. I've been meaning to mention that. But just to warn you, these are never very concise, put together videos. I just start gabbing while I'm walking, getting water, and what comes to mind in a very meandering way is what happens, and I almost never edit it. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'll just stick it up the way I put it. Part of the reason is, well, I just can't be arsed. Like, who the hell cares? Anyway, but the other aspect is you can hear the birds and see the trees and the sun, and all that stuff. If I don't talk too much, you'll hear more of that. Anyway, hope everyone's doing great. À la prochaine. Ciao, and stay healthy and everything, but get out in the sun if you can is my advice. Okay, get that vitamin D going. Okay, bye.